click the links to go to the other YouTube channel, the Discord, though it's full of Nazis, Gab, Odyssey, and BitChute. Okay, so he's under fire for a very reasonable Joe Rogan under fire for suggesting something very reasonable and rational. This is all a matter of statistics. If you're under a certain age, the risk of harm from the Fausts inoculation is going to be greater than the risk of harm from side effects of the shot. I don't know if you remember the story of Raggedy Ann and Andy. It's just a math game versus your, I don't know, personal experience with a degree of risk, and then your, like, how healthy you are, how exposed you are. It's really not that big a deal. I think people are blowing it out of proportion for political reasons. Like a couple of years ago, we weren't all freaking out over the swine flu, and then before that, the avian flu. It's like, let's dial it back a little bit. There's a lot of, ooh, I don't know how far I can get into this on YouTube, but remember when this thing first came out, and you saw Chinese bodies in the street? Well, that doesn't seem likely now, does it? So where's all that footage of those Chinese bodies in the street? What happened there? Like, were they implying that they were coming down with this Wu flu? Because that's not how our experience around the world has been. And I remember in the beginning, a year ago, Italian hospitals, reports were coming out that they were full to overflowing with people, and there was 1,000 departing this mortal coil a day. Well, that didn't happen. So who spread that lie? Who started that lie? Who spread that lie? What's going on with that? Oh, well, nobody's looking into that. Why? Because the media is on board with this narrative. So I guess sort of the real question is, why is the media so on board with this? And what happened to the left wing? It used to be, never trust the government, never trust the media. It's all just this corporate, what did they call it in the 90s? This corporate, I don't know. This, why all of a sudden is the left totally switched over to authoritarianism, where they're on board with trusting the media and the government because they're on their side temporarily? Giving up power, it's very difficult to get power back. Anyway, so he said something very reasonable, just going according to math. And here's the thing, is a lot of these folks are arguing from emotion and not from rationale. Sit down, look at the numbers, and say, well, first of all, do you trust the numbers? We live in a low-trust society. Do you trust the media and government? Fundamentally, no, absolutely not. You should be very distrustful of your media and government. And that wasn't some far-right, I'm not some far-right whack job. That was a very reasonable liberal position, to look at people who lie to you and say, okay, well, you've been impeached. You are no longer trustworthy. Maybe we can rehabilitate you to come back to the truth. But if you lie and then a few months later admit you lied, well, okay, you have to discount that entire source. Anyway, so he was doing a podcast where he said he did not believe healthy young people should get the jab. It's funny, everyone's speaking in this YouTube censorship speak, because YouTube is developmentally disabled bundles of stickery. I think you should get it if you're vulnerable, noting his parents have both been hit with it. I encourage a lot of people to get it, and people say, do you think it's safe to get it? I said, yeah, I think for the most part. If you're like 21 years old and you say to me, should I get the shot? I'll go, no. Are you healthy? Are you a healthy person? Yeah, you don't, it's just not that big a deal. How many people, they said like 22,000 people died from the flu last year. It's like, we're getting focused. Were people wigging out over that? I don't think so. And if they are, well, they're just like hypochondriacs or something. Yeah, that shouldn't be controversial. I'm not going to inject my kid with something that is an experimental vaccine. Here's trust the science. Well, I was a scientist, and science takes time. You don't trust the science. That's just an appeal to authority. You trust results, and then or you test them, and then you retest them, and then you say, hey, can you reproduce this experiment over across the world somewhere else in a different lab? And so long-term studies, well, part of the phrase is long-term. That implies time. There's no way to speed that up. I guess stress analysis, you could speed that up with a lot of repetitions of something. Like they test cell phones. You just drop them on the floor, several times. Anyway, with long-term human studies take time. That's just the way the causal universe works and space-time and all that kind of stuff. You can't, I mean, I guess you could go in suspended animation and wait 20 years to see the effects of the inoculation. But if you're in a low-risk category right now, why would you take a high risk? Why not wait 20 years until you age into a high-risk category? And then by that time, they'll probably have improved things a little bit. They'll probably say, oh, okay, the way we were doing it is a little dangerous. We have an improved method. So I don't know, he's kind of soy. He was pulling videos and hot interviews with Alex Jones and a bunch of other stuff, and it's like, I listen to him, and it's like, I can't listen to these kind of fence sitters. It's like, imagine the fences are made of large dildos, and that's what you look like when you're riding that dildo fence. So people are tweeting about their personal experiences. Well, yeah, I've had the flu. I had the flu once in Hawaii. This was decades ago. I thought I was going to die. It was the worst flu on earth. My fingernails hurt, my hair hurt, the air above my body hurt. I had to cancel a flight and wait for a few days because I was just wiped. But you know, I never went to the hospital for it. I just waited it out and thought, okay, it's a flu. You'll either get better or you won't. As long as you can keep drinking water, you don't need an IV. Not medical advice, but it's just my own personal thing. As long as you can drink water and go to the bathroom on your own, what's a doctor going to do to you? For this, for serious things, what do? They put you on an IV to get fluid in you. And if you need help breathing, they'll do that for you. But if you don't have those things, anyway, I don't want to give medical advice or get myself. So these people are giving a few examples of having, this happens every year with the flu. That's life. Okay, dog. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, guys. Go to Odyssey. Go to BitChute. Go to all these other sites because YouTube will not let you say a friggin' thing these days.